Hello there, everybody. We're glad to welcome you once again to another edition of Inside Africa. The 10th European Meteorological Satellite User Forum in Africa has stressed the need to use satellite data for monitoring climate change and in support of renewable energy in Africa. The conference kicked off Monday at the UNECA Conference Center in Addis Ababa.
10th European Meteorological Satellite EUMETSAT User Forum in Africa is taking place here at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa Conference Center. Over 180 participants from more than 60 countries representing the national meteorological and hydrological services, African regional and institutional bodies and government agencies are attending the forum. The forum aims at creating a well-established dialogue between European meteorological satellite and the African user community and facilitating the use of EUMETSAT data throughout the continent. Ambassador Gary Queens, head of the European Union delegation to the African Union on the occasion, said improved access to reliable and accurate data is essential for better informed decision in environmental monitoring and sustainable management of natural resources.
This 10th Users Forum provides the opportunity to exchange on the contribution of satellite meteorology to development in Africa and help plan future initiatives tailored to your needs. We look forward to the Climate Day, jointly organised with the ACPC of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, where you will discuss the potential contribution of Earth observation to ongoing and planned climate initiatives in Africa.
The forum is also believed to identify the actions and initiatives that could be taken by the European Meteorological Satellite EUMETSAT and its partners to meet the requirements of its African users. Deputy Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization, Jerry Lingos, has said climate and sustainable development are intrinsically linked.
Climate change is a reality and will impact on living conditions, activities and decisions that need to be made in particular, and therefore we need to continue to monitor, investigate and anticipate its impacts. Related services must be developed in every region in order to provide decision makers with the most relevant weather and climate information and services, including for infrastructure planning, mitigation of climate change impacts, development of climate change adaptation measures.
The African Union Commission representative Dr. Abebe Haile Gabriel noted remarkable improvements have been registered on the use of Earth observation data after of EUMETSAT in Africa.
Databases and products are improved in the 5 regions through the implementation of 5 thematic actions. The capacity of archiving data has been enhanced in several institutions through the provision of high-caliber equipment.
The 10th EUMETSAT Forum in Africa gives emphasis for the use of satellite data for monitoring climate change and in support of the development of renewable energy in Africa. In this regard, the government of Ethiopia has launched a climate-resilient green economy to create a food-secured society and generate zero carbon emission by 2025, according to Ethiopian State Minister of Water and Energy Kebede Gerba. The conference will stay open until the 5th.
Taking you now to Ghana, economic activities in the Lora district have come to a halt following the collapse of the steel bridge that links Ghana to Burkina Faso. The bridge on the Domini Hamile Road keeps in when a Kumasi-bound article loaded with corn-mill spare parts attempted to cross over to its destinations.
There are 2 roads in the Lora district that link Ghana and Burkina Faso. Although the region has many stretches of border towns, there is no single laser weighing facility to check overloaded heavy-duty trucks. As a result, heavy-duty trucks that ply the region usually have a field day with regards to overloading, thereby reducing the lifespans and durability of the roads in the region. When GTV News got to the scene of the accident, the remains of the truck was still stuck in the bridge. It was disclosed that the closure of the road had brought untold hardship to the people in the district, as motorists and other commuters had to be helped across by a section of the youth for a fee. A driver who had to divert his route had this to say.
Imagine coming from Accra to this place to attend to an urgent issue and go back tonight, and you have this problem to go back to Trapa, Laura. It's going to waste my time. Go back to Accra tired Monday. I think going to work will be difficult.
The collapse of this very bridge has raised a lot of eyebrows with regards to the quality of work that was executed in its reconstruction. Mr. Samson Abu is the DCE for the area.
It's going to affect us. And like I indicated earlier, commercial activities along that corridor will come to a halt. We will no more have vehicles plowing through that route, meaning we're going to have diversions. And then if we are to divert all vehicles going to Nandom, Hamele, and then to Burkina Faso, they will have to go through the district capital through the only road that we now have. The other issue that is not pleasing is that we have another steel bridge along that road.
Now, educationists in Ghana are calling for a restructure of the national educational agenda so it is devoid of partisan influences. The director of Ideal College, Mr. Joseph Asibu, says this will prevent a situation where political parties shake the public agenda to their advantage. He was speaking at the 5th TNG Corporate Merit Award ceremony held at Koforidua.
Education has undoubtedly taken center stage in the run-up to this year's elections. Policies and promises on education are being made in a bid to convince the electorate that the country's crucial decision at this point in history is how to lay a solid human resource base for transformation. This informed the decision of the new Kenyan Corporate Merit Awards to focus on education this year. Speakers at the function expressed displeasure at the situation in which students with very good grades, such as 7As and the like, are unable to gain admission to read programs such as medicine, pharmacy, among others, due to lack of facilities. Many of such students fly out to China and other countries, thus deepening the brain drain in the country. The director of Ideal College, Mr. Joseph Asibu, who delivered the keynote address, said it is high time the nation focused on practical education that would provide effective solutions to the problems facing the nation.
We need to put premium on practical education rather than mass concentration on theory. You should prioritize education in Ghana, and this can be achieved through the joint effort of the stakeholders of education. They should develop an efficient education system which will come out with effective solutions to the problems bedeviling the country. Successive governments have been ambivalent about committing a sizable chunk of their budget to education, given the many demands on the nation coffers. In this regard, we need a national policy on education, which will guide decision makers to embark on projects whose gestation period would exceed the mandatory term of office of any government.
Recipients of this year's awards included NIIT for Unrivaled IT Education, Ideal College, Best Result-Oriented Remedial School, and Sunrise Christian High School, Ho, Best Private Christian High School in Volta Region. Others were Great Lamptey Mills School, McDonald School, Koforidua, Liberty School, Accra, Comet Properties, and Anointed Electricals.
We're still looking at education, but we make a shift from Ghana now to Ethiopia, where the country's Ministry of Education is holding its 22nd National Education Training Conference, which attracts stakeholders in the education sector. The two-day conference discusses achievements and weaknesses of the last academic year and future undertakings of the ministry for this year.
Ministry of Education officials, representatives of universities, teachers and students associations gathered at African Union headquarters to participate in the 22nd National Education and Training Conference. The conference discusses best practices and weaknesses seen last academic year and major undertakings planned for this year. Deputy Prime Minister and Education Minister Demek Emekonnen on the occasion said the previous academic year saw better achievements, especially in the areas of research and entrepreneurship. He said schools in different parts of the country are establishing education development associations that would help boost quality of education. Best achievements of the previous year laid foundations for major projects to be undertaken this year, adding this academic year is a special year for everyone to be committed to realize the dreams of late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi.
የኢትዮጵያን የህዳሴ ጉዞ በአንጸባራቂ ድሎች ለማጀብና የእድገትና ትራንስፎርሜሽን እቅዱን ለማሳካት የትምህርት ሴክተር የሚጠበቅበትን ሚና ከዚህ ቀደም
The education sector will play its role for the successful implementation of the Growth and Transformation Plan. The role of the education sector in the strive to achieve the developmental plans masterminded by the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi is significant. All of us should contribute our part. Especially the public is motivated like never before after the death of the Prime Minister. This doubles the burden of all stakeholders in the sector.
Addis Ababa City Deputy Mayor Abata Stotau said the education sector has put a right policy that enabled the country to sustain the fastest growth it has been registering over the past 9 years. He said the city administration is desirous to work closely with the Ministry of Education to revamp the quality of education and produce skilled manpower. The 22nd National Education and Training Conference signifies teachers' capacity building and qualification. For the first time in the history of Ethiopia, teachers all over the country will be examined and licensed starting from this year. The progress of the education sector in the last 20 years is one of the legacies of late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi. The number of state universities has reached 31, while there are more than 60 privately owned colleges and universities. According to the figures from the ministry, around 22 million of the total population are attending different levels of education.
Away from Ethiopia, the Inter-Religious Council of Kenya leaders have urged Kenyans not to be divided along religious lines by acts of terrorism. The leaders condemned Sunday's attack on Sunday school children at the St. Polycarp ACK Church along Juju Road and Court on the police to beef up security to preempt such attacks. Meanwhile, police have released 3 people arrested in connection with the blast.
The shattering reality of those few minutes at around 10 a.m. Sunday continues to be felt most harshly a day later by the mother of a 9-year-old boy whose memories bring to the fore the ever-present reality that is the war on terror. Underneath the moment of reverence, the horrid account that once again leaves vulnerable Kenya's security situation is told and retold throughout Monday at St. Polycarp Church, Juja Road. The scene remaining untouched since the attack that turned a morning church service into a scene of confusion and death. Religious leaders keen on dismissing the act as that of hooliganism and not a religious conflict sought to reassure a church that is trying to pick up the shattered pieces. A concern easily echoed by many after the public suffered the wrath of attacks by angry youth Sunday in the area. The youth decried the attack on the church in a violent fashion.
This is a cruel provocation. I appeal to all Christians not to feed this violence with violence.
Let no one cite religion as a reason for this heinous crime.
The leaders urging residents to continue coexisting peacefully as they have done over the years.
If the members of the public came out in a big way to condemn and provide information, these terrorists will find no place to hide.
The latest casualties in what continues to be a string of alleged terrorism-related cases are the little ones. 3 children were discharged from the Kenyatta National Hospital. 4 are still admitted, nursing multiple soft tissue injury, multiple chest and abdominal injury, head injury and soft tissue injury. And while security officials maintain that they are on alert, so far it is doing little to allay fears heightened by the increased cases of explosives going on.
We stay in Kenya, and this time around the Judges and Magistrates Vetting Board says a recent High Court order that halted its vetting process for 2 weeks is unconstitutional. The board declared the order null and void, but would not divulge whether it would go ahead and ignore it.
The process of vetting magistrates and judges ran into trouble on Tuesday last week when the High Court issued an order stopping the process for 14 days pending a case challenging the fairness of the vetting process. The case had been filed by the Center for Human Rights and Democracy and two other individuals, Richard Etiang and Bishop Francis Ranogwa. The vetting board called a press conference a few hours after a crisis meeting between its chairman and Chief Justice Dr. Willie Mutunga.
In the board's view, the stay order is null and void.
The board says that Section 23 of the 6th schedule of the new constitution insulates the vetting board from court orders.
What we are hoping that the Attorney General, as the principal legal advisor to the government, will take up the matter of jurisdiction, will also take up the matter of the particular judge or judges who are subject to vetting and sit in judgment over its own process.
The panel hearing the case includes Justices Mohamed Warsame, George Odunga and George Kimondo. The board has further raised an alarm over conflict of interest as one of the judges on the panel, Mohamed Warsame, was due to appear before the board for vetting on the 16th of this month.
Judges cannot be true to their oath to uphold the Constitution, but purport to blow the whistle on a process commanded by the Constitution. There cannot be players and referees at the same time. I can say with complete confidence that there has been no interference nor an attempt to interfere with the process of the board as far as the Chief Justice is concerned.
The lawyers representing the petitioners, Dr. John Haminwa, Katwa Kigan and Paul Gisheru, insist that the order must be obeyed and dared the board to proceed with the disobedience of the order. Despite rejecting the order, the board was not clear on its next course of action.
In other news, the Ethio-Sudanese Joint Defense Committee has agreed to boost collaboration in maintaining border security to facilitate free movement for the peoples of the two countries. The statement came on Monday in Addis Ababa at the conclusion of a 3-day media performance evaluation of the Joint Committee.
This minute of silence is dedicated to the late Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi as the 7th Ethio-Sudanese Joint Defense Committee mid-year performance evaluation. The committee recalled that the late Meles Zenawi had played an indispensable role in maintaining peace and stability at the border of Ethiopia and Sudan, in particular in the region as a whole. The two countries established the Joint Committee 3 years before to bolster border security cooperation and promote dependable peace within their common territory. That is why it took time in Addis Ababa in a bid to assess its performance so far and discuss future areas of assignments. The Joint Committee noted that its intervention in fostering border security through the exchange of information has been a good move forward. Present at the closing of the session was Ethiopian Defense Minister Siraj Fagesa. He said the collaboration of the two countries in ensuring border security has been fruitful.
The major agreement between the Ethio-Sudanese Defense Forces was to keep peace and provide training for defense forces in either of the two nations. The exchange of information for border security, free movement of the two people, and boosting peaceful border trade and community ties were also part and parcel of the bilateral deal. The assessment proved that we are doing well and there is a good leap forward. Our fight against anti-peace elements was also successful.
Siraj noted that the Joint Committee would keep its endeavors of ensuring a threat-free Ethio-Sudanese border. Sudanese Defense Minister Abdurrahman Mohamed Hussein said the committee has advanced well in reinforcing bilateral security issues.
Through all these years we have done a very big job, which revealed the borders between the two countries to very secure and soft borders, making easy for the people from Sudan to come to Ethiopia, and from Sudan to go there and to cultivate and all do all the trade.
The Joint Defense Committee is anticipated to strengthen the peaceful coexistence and the long-standing bond of the peoples of Ethiopia and Sudan. ERT.
Let's wrap up with some news on culture and economy. The Secretary of Tourism in the Kenya Ministry of Tourism, Dr. Nelson Githinji, has said Uganda is now marked a top in tourism industry growth in Africa. According to the 2011 Tourism Review in Africa, Uganda's tourism sector grew by 25% in 2011, while that of South Africa and Tanzania realized growth of 21% and 13.4% respectively.
Dr. Nelson Githinji observed that Uganda's tourism growth is attributed to its tourist destination hubs like Queen Elizabeth National Park, Murchison Falls, Bundi Impenetrable Forest, renowned for its mountain gorillas, and plenty more. He said Uganda is also spinning on the pivot of new dynamics that are driving its tourism sector as the Asian begin to be part of its market. Dr. Githinji noted that there has been a shift in the market as China, South Korea and Japan take the lead, which was dominated by the traditional countries such as United States, United Kingdom, France and Germany. He also attributed Uganda's impressive tourism growth to the stability of the country in respect to guaranteed security. Githinji was speaking during the opening of the Magical Kenyan Travel Expo 2012 at Kenyatta International Conference Center in Nairobi on Thursday. The expo was organized by Kenyan Tourist Board and it attracted over 170 tour and travel agencies across the globe. The expo has grown tremendously over the past year as seen from Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Australia, Germany, Britain, Korea, United States, and China showcased their products. Delegates from India, Scandinavia, Japan, Italy, Spain, Poland, Saudi Arabia, and France also took part at the showcase. The Kenyan tourism official appealed to Kenyan Tourism Board to maintain high standards in promoting tourism after scoping an award for being the best board in Africa. The second of its kind, the 2012 event aimed at bringing together tour and travel operators worldwide to show experiences, network and market tourism industry globally. The Kenyan Assistant Minister of Tourism, Cecily Mbarire, urged that tour operators to give adequate information on tourism destinations and emphasized further that tourism is an engine of economic growth. She encouraged the over 170 tour agents to market the industry and ensure tourists of security in the East African region.
Well, that report by Clarice Ridovan brings us to the end of this edition of Inside Africa. Thanks for your time and keep watching Africa Media for more news.